Welcome to the Planning for Life podcast with certified financial planner professional Russell Jacobs and financial life advisor Carl Coolidge. Carl and Russell will share creative strategies and ideas for overcoming challenges in your personal and financial life. Inevitably, life happens, and we will empower you to reach your destination. Thanks for joining us. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to another podcast with Russell Jacobs. Russell, a lot of times we have a plan for the podcast, and you and I wax philosophical about all of the different things that are going on in life. But when we were preparing for this one, you came up with an amazing idea. So tell us what you want to talk about today.
Well, Matt, what I wanted to talk about today as I reflected on the subject matter of financial planning and success in life is, what is the single biggest continual challenge that Carl, my partner, and I face with clients of all types, business clients, personal clients, any kind of client that we've ever dealt with. And it's really a single thing. And I'm oversimplifying, but it comes down to one thing, and that's procrastination.
So it's not the competition. It's not what's happening on Wall Street. It's really your clients getting stuff done.
It really is.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's because, procrastination is their enemy and our enemy. It's everyone's enemy, and it's the enemy at every step of the way. So it stops you from completing, anything, fill in the blank, anything you should be trying to accomplish. And in our case, it stops you from starting the planning process, or it starts you from completing the planning process, or even if you do start and finish the planning process, it delays or stops you from implementing the recommendations. And, time value of money, compounding interest, all these things do better the sooner you start them. And whether it's protecting your family or paying for college or having a successful retirement, all these things would be made easier and more successful for our clients if they started early and completed the process.
Okay.
Quicker.
So what are the causes of this, though, Russell? Help us understand. Break this down for us a little bit, please.
Well, I think there's, a number of causes of procrastination, but I would think there's maybe 5 main causes as I thought about this. And the first one is fear of failure. Everyone wants to be successful, and everyone has their own definition of what success is. But many people out there don't want to start something and either fail at it, or in the case of financial planning, they might not feel like they've done as well as they would have liked, and they don't really want to see the information, the confirmation of that failure, if you will. So rather than do that, call it the ostrich approach, if you will. They just keep their head in the sand. And, next thing you know, you're 65 years old. You've been that ostrich your entire life, and you're going to have to keep working or live on less or what have you, just because that fear of failure kept you from finding out where you are, creating that baseline and benchmark, and determining what do you have to do to improve your position. So just a general fear of failure that you won't do it right.
What's next? Fear of failure, man. And we all deal with that, no matter who we are, no matter what level of success we've achieved. You're really spot on with that. What's the next?
Well, what people forget, Matt, is what did you learn the most from, success or failure? You actually have to fail to succeed. Mm-hmm. And the more you fail, as long as you're learning from it, the more you learn and the better you'll get. I mean, we fail in some way every day, but we learn from it and we get better. And subsequently, we've gotten very good over the 33 years I've been doing this at the delivery for our clients.
Yeah.
But everyone who's the most successful at whatever it is they do, whether it's LeBron James, Steph Curry, to use sports analogies, or Carl Icahn in the world of finance. I mean, Carl Icahn, one of the richest men in the world, lost everything before he found his way to success. And if you look behind anyone, Thomas Edison, fill in the blank, they all failed many times to reach success.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the next thing is the opposite. To me, is excessive perfectionism. You have many people until they get it just absolutely perfect based on their interpretation of perfection, they won't execute. And, we live in an imperfect world. We all have imperfect lives. And so if we are going to wait until we get something done to absolute perfection, you're going to waste a tremendous amount of time, and you're therefore going to miss out on getting something done well, but not perfectly. Because I have this saying that you do your plan and life happens, and then you adjust your plan. So it's better to do good work, get something done, and then review it and update it on an ongoing basis, and have that constant work toward perfection, which you may never achieve, but it should be the journey toward perfection where you get things done along the way. And you should aim to do your best and be happy with that output, and just accept that there's no such thing as perfection, and get something done.
It's interesting because some people really do believe that perfectionism is the key to being very, very successful, but that analysis paralysis, that unwillingness to work in the gray when everything's black and white, which is seemingly what perfectionists do, really does inhibit and prohibit you from achieving great levels of success.
Yes, and it can create a very unhappy life for yourself and your family, because if you try and hold your friends, family, co-workers to that standard, everyone's going to be miserable because we'll never achieve it. So perfectionism, or the pursuit of it, is not a bad thing, but the absolute application of not doing anything until it's perfect will cause you definitely to procrastinate and keep you from being successful.
What's the next one?
The next one, which I'm sure many people suffer from, is low energy levels. In America, we're not good at vacation. Other parts of the world tend to take a lot of vacation, and the people perhaps have a more fulfilled life. But, we work a lot of hours in our country, and when we get time not working for the man, or working for ourselves in our own businesses, or taking care of the kids, whatever the case may be, that's the last thing we want to do, is deal with our finances. Deal with, do I have enough insurance? Did I set up that 529 plan? Did we do wills or update our wills that are 20 years old? Did I complete that review of the business so we could do a buy-sell agreement? So many things. Did I have that talk, with my spouse about this important matter that we've been meaning to talk about for months? Often the answer is no, just because we're just so tired and lack energy. And partly that's because we don't exercise enough, we don't eat right, we work a long time, we don't sleep right. Unhealthy lifestyle leads to that a lot. And all of that plays into the whole concept of procrastination as well. And the old story of the cobbler's own shoes is certainly a very true one. We all tend to spend all our time, energy, and effort on doing work for our clients or our customers of our businesses, or our coworkers, and then we kind of leave the crumbs for ourselves, or get to ourselves last. But when you combine the cobbler's own shoe effect with a low energy level, you're making your chance of success even more remote, because you just don't have the energy left to do it. So I'd say focus on things like exercise and activity to get your energy level up, and always remember to treat yourself like you would your best customer or best client, because you are your best customer and your best client, and you're the most important person to your family. So take care of yourself too.
So number 1, fear of failure. Number 2, excessive perfectionism. And number 3, low energy levels. What else you got for us?
I would say number 4 is a lack of focus, and I'm guilty of this. We all try and multitask. And so, or we don't know where we're trying to go, what we're trying to do. If you don't know where you're trying to go, how can you get there? And, we experienced this in our own practice. And until we really got good, in fact, working with you, developing goals and objectives where we had quantifiable goals and objectives. Where did we want to be as professionals, as people, and as a firm? Once we did that, we really began to be more productive and effective. And so you've got to have focus. I tell people all the time that we spend more time planning our 2-week vacation than we do potentially 30 years in retirement. And we never think anything bad is going to happen to us, or at least we don't like to talk about it. But focusing in on what can happen, and if it did happen, how would it impact your family or your coworkers is real important. And as I prepared for this podcast, I just did a quick thought back of individuals, and I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names of people who they didn't plan to pass away early, but they did, and they range in age from 32 to 62. And with the exception of one of these people that came to my mind, it was sudden, and so there wasn't time to prepare. So you have to focus on the fact that bad things do happen to good people, as the book says. I forget who wrote it, and be prepared, and prepare for the worst, but expect the best. But that all takes focus, and you have to have goals and targets, and then you have to benchmark periodically along the way. And that's what we help our clients do. But to do that, they have to quit procrastinating and decide they want to meet with us, and then actually provide us the information that we need, and then answer our questions. And then once we deliver their plan and give them recommendations, they need to execute and review it on an ongoing basis.
A lot of stuff, you just really opened the door on something that I personally find difficult, and I know many other people find difficult too, which is having these difficult conversations. Is that an aspect of procrastination?
Yes, it's actually a perfect tee up to number 5. Number 5 is an unwillingness to address difficult issues, our own death, our own mortality, the loss of family members, and people don't want to be perceived as nagging or insensitive or self-serving by wanting to find out what other siblings, parents, or partners may think about key issues. If something happened to one of us, what would we do? And no one likes to talk about death, but guess what? We're all going to die. I can't tell you how many times through the years when I'm talking to someone, they will say, if I die, and I'm like, oh, let's stop. You're all going to die. I hate to be the one to break that news to you, but you're going to die. It's not an if, it's a when. Some people get to live to be 112. Some people don't, unfortunately, get to live 2 weeks, 2 days. They're mortality tables for a reason. We're all going to die, though. So you're going to die. So it's better if you prepare than if you don't. I have one client that comes to mind. He died. He was sick for a while, but his wife found out after he died that they owed the IRS a couple $100,000. And I'll never forget this because she was mad at him. He was gone. They'd been married 40 plus years. And the last thing I really remember about them is that she was mad at him because he didn't tell her and he left her in the lurch. That's all about procrastination, but you have to communicate clearly, effectively, and often. And no one is perfect about that, but you make the effort because these things are going to happen. And it's a lot better to have them addressed than unaddressed, whether it's having wills or revocable trust, whether it's communicating your wishes to your family so that they know what you want and they don't have to try and interpret, because that creates a lot of family conflict. One of the people's names who came to mind, and Carl and I talked about it, he got cancer. He died. He was about 62 years old, but he had a year before it was coming or so. We had a meeting here in our conference room with his daughters and his wife, and he explained what he wanted and how we were all going to work together. And this is perhaps 10 years ago, and we still work with that family. And he had the forethought and the willingness to address these issues head on. And, you think how tough and sensitive a meeting that was. Sometimes tears are shed, sometimes feelings get hurt. But whatever it is, it's always worse if you don't address it. I was at a talk of a very successful retired business owner worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And he used to tell his employees, his key managers, that bad news is not like cheese or a fine wine. It doesn't age well. So cheese and fine wine, they're going to age well. Well, bad news doesn't. So I think there's some parallels here with the idea of procrastinating about difficult family issues as it relates to planning, whether it's having enough insurance or saving enough for retirement or college. It doesn't get better if you don't do it. It gets worse. So go ahead and address it.
There are certain people who are able to have those conversations, and there are certain people who run away from those conversations. If your financial services professional isn't comfortable having those conversations, or if they get very uncomfortable if you are showing emotion in the meetings, and money has substantial amount of emotion attached to it, death does, savings, retirement, changing in lives, then you really need to reconsider your financial service relationship. Russell, I love that you're talking about this stuff. This is what truly makes you both unique and different. Having the courage, the strength, and the experience to have these conversations, that just kind of changes the whole relationship.
Well, thank you, Matt. And I think the other thing I would say is, people don't want to appear stupid or silly. And so sometimes because they don't want to be embarrassed, they're not willing to approach some of these subjects or ask us questions about them. And that's just the opposite of what they should or would do. So if their financial professional makes them feel uncomfortable because of the questions they want to ask, or they're uncomfortable to even ask those questions, they should consider giving us a call, because we're willing to spend the time and answer all the questions, because that's what we're here for.
Any closing thoughts on the idea of procrastination, how that can affect your retirement plan and your life?
I'll say, well, don't do it, because it's going to create a bad outcome.
Fair statement. Yeah, very few people want to have a bad outcome. Most people want to have a good outcome. So, Russell, thank you for your brain today.
You're welcome, Matt. I enjoyed the time and look forward to chatting with you sometime again soon.
Hey, actually, before you drop off, would you mind sharing with our audience again what's the best way to reach out to the firm?
Well, we can be reached at our website, jacobsandcoolidge.com, or by phone, 912-265-2876. And we are here 8 to 5 every day, and very prompt and responsive to any inquiries. And my email is rjacobs@financialguide. We would be happy to chat with anyone about their circumstance and see if they're a good fit for us, or we're a good fit for them.
And we will make sure that all of that contact information is in the show notes. So if you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe now button below. That way, every time Russell or Carl comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And if you know somebody who suffers from procrastination, or any of the things that Russell talked about today and how it can affect your long-term planning and life, please make sure that you click the share button. It's super easy to share this with your friends and family. So for Jacobs Coolidge and Company, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
The content is developed from sources believed to be providing accurate information. The information in this material is not intended as tax or legal advice. Please consult legal or tax professionals for specific information regarding your individual situation. The opinions expressed and material provided are for general information and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. Russell C. Jacobs III, Carl B. Coolidge, James Jacobs, and William Schwartz are registered representatives of and offer securities, investment advisory, and financial planning services through MML Investor Services, LLC, member SIPC, Supervisory Office, Jacksonville, Florida. Jacobs Coolidge and Company, LLC is not a subsidiary or affiliate of MML Investor Services, LLC, or its affiliated companies.